Oh boy, we are going to be dancing close to the YouTube TOS today. So I will of course not be linking or endorsing anything we're going to be talking about, as we are going to comment on Mia Malkova's Star Wars take. Now, I know that I'm a little bit late to the party here, as it was posted on June the 14th, but I was busy with the Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne video, so give me a break, I do suppose. As, Mia Malkova is, how do we put this in YouTube terms, a woman of ill repute who has starred in multiple feature-length films, including one with a Star Wars theme, a parody, in fact. And her comment is, just watched The Acolyte, and I think I can officially say I've been in better written, quote, Star Wars movies. In her Star Wars movies, of course, there weren't only lightsabers glowing rapidly erect and spluttering. Yes. Close enough for government business. And she went on to take multiple shots, in fact, at Star Wars, like Dave Filoni's biggest achievement is finding ways of downgrading other people's fanfiction. Correct, as pudgy Admiral Thrawn can very clearly attest to. And on the topic of the Acolyte as well, it is almost as good as Willow. Now, thank God I was spared the dread of Willow, but it strikes me as quite likely and plausible, in fact, that a woman in her line of employment would probably actually be ideally suited to make a story about a cabal of lesbian space witches, an infinitely more intriguing, engaging, and interesting plot than anything that Leslie Hadelin apparently managed to push out of her gaping orifices. And you then gotta lean back and wonder, how on God's good earth have we arrived at the point where, again, aforementioned woman of ill repute, is able to take a dump on million-dollar productions created by Disney with the Star Wars brand, one of, previously, the biggest and most profitable brands in history, and people will simply look at it, nod along, and go, yep, no, she has a point. Why? It's because she does have a point, and everyone can see it. Here, let me take something immediately visual for the purposes of a video, right? This is Miss Marvel, the classic Golden Age style of the blonde bombshell superhero. She is a beautiful, conventionally attractive, to use their terminology, big-boobed blonde. Alright, there you go. It's a character that seems like she could probably make some box office records, no doubt. What can a random amateur cosplayer do with that? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dead on, frankly. It looks a little bit more cheap. It's clearly more latexy rather than like the more, I guess, leathery style of this costume, but by and large, that is not a bad adaptation at all. Sure, again, it looks a little bit more cheap, but the woman's on a budget. So, this is the not on a budget version, produced at the cost of, what is it, $200 million? Yeah, again, somehow I feel as if one of these actually looked at the costume and went, let's try to adopt that, and one of them did, oh no, patriarchal male gaze. Let's make a big square jaw-lined woman frown at the audience. Brilliant. Fantastic. And this is far from the only example of more fame, shall we say, the Axel Brown parodies. And my God, but does this not actually look really high quality? I'm sorry, but does this not look at least as good as the official version, if not in fact better? And hell, this. How come the porn parodies are looking superior to the official products? Somebody explain this to me. And you know what? Axel Brown himself did explain this. Brown is willing to appeal to fanboys. Well, holy shit, there you go. The lesson the DC and Marvel have both largely failed to grasp is that you do have a target audience here. The fact that I don't have to answer to marketing execs who have never read a comic book but need to sell Happy Meals definitely allows me way more latitude, he says. I am first and foremost a fan, which is probably why my movies are successful. I am the target audience. Well, shit. And you certainly can't say that the man doesn't have a point, as was recently demonstrated by Deadpool and Wolverine, the non-XXX variant, incidentally, as it crossed the $550 million global threshold like an hour or so ago. This movie is going towards clearing $1 billion plus globally, and it is an R-rated movie. It is the definition of aiming for the narrower, dedicated audience rather than the wider audience that, well, gave us this. This is the wider audience right here. So, Deadpool and Wolverine, at the end of the day, so we've talked about it on multiple occasions here, was in essence a love letter to Wolverine. That is what it was. It was two friends having an absolute blast, making a movie together, pulling out all the stops and just simply making what they wanted to do. It is a fun romp. Is it too long? God help me, yes. Does it get a bit tiresome here and there? Oh, Jesus, yes. But it still shines through. The enthusiasm, the genuine love for what they're doing. Again, I am the target audience. And meanwhile, what is the wider audience doing? Well, it is looking at the $550 million slam dunk uber success and going, there were too many gay jokes in it. There were too many homosexual jokes. Oh my heavens. Daily Mail. Deadpool and Wolverine's constant gay jokes leave Marvel fans completely divided. I don't know about that. You have failed to convince me. Your persuasion check was particularly poor. I don't think this leaves Marvel fans at all divided. I think this leaves a 0.something% of people who were never the target audience to begin with, a little bit peeved over the fact that somebody was making jokes at your expense. Oh my God, was it your turn to take a joke? Oh no. I'm very sorry, protected class citizen. Of course, we'll dial down the funnies on your expense. And what was it here? I think they mentioned like the opening scene in one of these, like, oh, the opening scene went on way too long. The opening scene was in essence one kind of big, sort of pseudo in a way gay joke where they dance around to a boy band whose name escapes me right now, thank you God. And that apparently was all one big gay joke. I didn't register that myself, but oh well. So we have arrived at a position now where you have the wider audience being used to being catered to the point where we have completely desexualized characters in order to appeal to this 0.something% of the audience. This is what appealed to the majority of the audience when comics actually could sell, when comics could exist on their own. This was what created the movie. This is the reason why Miss Marvel has a movie. And then, this is the movie. I've made many videos on how Hollywood executives and big entertainment executives themselves seemingly cannot take a point, no matter how blatantly it is put to them, no matter how fiercely it is hammered against their skulls with a jackhammer, it simply does not seem to seep through. Well, with Deadpool and Wolverine, I believe that is finally beginning to change, as this was a very unusual thing for Disney to do. An R-rated movie full of, well, gay jokes. Again, gay people, or queer as we call them today, are officially labelled on many parts of the internet, and indeed in legislation in nations like England, as a protected class. The reason why they're up in arms over jokes is because they have been so thoroughly shielded from anything that even so much as hints at making fun of them, that now they grow very sensitive whenever it happens. This is why we will eventually, now slowly but surely, I guarantee you, begin to pivot back towards this again. Because it sells. Because the audience they were aiming at is as upset as they can be right now, and it has done nothing to dent the movie's credibility, its profitability, and its ranking as just a fun fucking movie. This has failed, unquestionably. undoubtedly. To the point that now, aforementioned woman of ill repute can say something like this, and most people will look at it and go, yeah, you probably were. Because at the very least, the person who made your movie might actually have watched a Star Wars movie before. Hell, they might even have spent a little bit of time reading up on it, and if nothing else, okay, this is the biggest point, the raison d'etre of it all. When Leslie Hayland made her Coven of Space Witches undermine Darth Plagueis' entire reason for existence, just sweep the legs under Anakin Skywalker, Luke, all of it, the entire Skywalker family in essence. She did it because her only interest was to stamp her name and her story into Star Wars. It was to treat it as conquered territory and go, mine. Whereas the Paladin, it doesn't try to do anything like that. It doesn't pretend it's canon. It makes no official claims. It's simply just like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if they had sex now? That fact alone makes it a superior product to anything that's come out of Disney the last 10 years. Anywho, I've been playing with fire for long enough. I can already hear YouTube breathing down my neck, so until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you, genuinely so, soon. And if I'm quiet for a week, you'll know why. I have a Rumble link, by the way. Have a good day.